Hey, what's up guys? Fish Tank Mike here. Today we're going to be working on a new little mini pond setup. This is what I like to call the set it and forget it type of tank. Even though it's kind of a mini pond, you'll see what I'm talking about in a second, but it should be a super easy, low maintenance for life type of a setup that if you do it at a big enough scale, then you can actually put quite a few fish in it. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's check it out. So here's what we're working with, guys. We've had this like this for way too long. This is a UNS 5N. So it's just a tiny little rimless tank. It has a pretty decent front to back. I think it ends up being like 2.5 gallons, but it is very much like a pond style tank. There is literally no reason for this to be in here. Actually, this was a leftover from this tank, and for the longest time I had that and a rock in here just sitting. It was bare, and then when I got a recent plant order, we got this mondo grass. I needed a place to put it, so I filled it up with some water, put the mondo grass in there. It's been like that for weeks, and then when I got a bunch of this giant kind of duckweed floating plant, I just put that in there. There's also some bamboo sitting in here from that same plant order. And basically, guys, I'm tired of looking at this, whatever this is. So let's rearrange some things. Let's go grab some more materials and let's turn this into a proper little aquascaped pond style tank. I think what I'm going to do is actually remove this little art installation with the bamboo behind this thing. Originally I was going to just leave it because I thought it might look cool, and it still might. It'll add a little bit more texture to the background. But I just think like once we actually, you know, now that I think of it, I think we are going to leave it. I'm changing my mind here all the time, guys, because hopefully this will all be covered. You won't be able to see the bowl, but we'll just have some extra little leaves in the background. So I think that's actually what we're going to do. I'm not really going to clean the tank or do anything beyond this because we are going to fill a lot of this up with substrate. It's going to have most of the glass be covered, and I mean, this will just wash back up. We're going to have the floating plants in this thing anyway. So now I'm just going to grab some contra soil that I have hiding down here. We're going to use more of the brown stuff because that's what I'm into these days, and all of the tanks around it have the same stuff, and then we'll just start scaping. So there's the rough draft, and upon, first glance, it does look a little chaotic. Okay, I'll be the first to admit it, guys. The combination of the mondo grass with the verticality of the bamboo does look a little weird to me. I think this would actually look really good without the bamboo, but I did want to have something up super tall like that. So I think for the time being, we're going to leave it in and just kind of see how this scape grows on me over the next few days. Maybe we'll pull those out. I think it'll really help once the bamboo has time to adjust and start getting nutrients up out of this thing, and then those stalks will turn dark green like the ones in the back. It might be kind of hard to see, but they will darken up and they will match basically the greenness of the mondo grass, and I think that could help. Speaking of the mondo grass, I didn't really even plant the roots down in the substrate because I just don't even think we need to do that. The roots are going to have access to whatever's in the water column because whatever's in the water column is going to end up in the substrate, and the mondo grass, like the bamboo, really good at pulling nutrients out of the water. So this is going to be a totally self-sustaining little pond. We won't need to have any filtration or anything on here. It would be nice to have some kind of water flow, but in my experience, when you really double down on the plants, then you don't really have the same kind of issues with there being like a bacterial film or anything weird happening like that. Let's try and clear this glass off a little bit, get rid of all the bubbles so we can see the plants that we put in. So we went with some S. repens, and I put in a little bit of Anubias nana-petite that I've had for forever over in the greenhouses. And the objective here is to get that S. repens to grow up to the top and then up out of the water. Not sure how that'll look with it being in the front like this, but we'll just have to see what it decides to do. I was going to put a lot more floating plants in this thing, but based on the amount of surface area we have here in the front of the tank, I don't want to overload it, so we just put in a couple. I'm sure they'll multiply like crazy, but again, just reinforcing the fact that this is going to be a super devoid of nutrients water column type setup, and it's going to be super safe. That being said, this will be something that will appreciate having some fertilizer. So because all of the plants in here are so demanding for nutrients, the only thing that we'll have to do to this thing that makes it, I guess, not 100% a set it and forget it tank is that we'll have to come by every once in a while and squirt some liquid ferts in here just to keep everything happy. So don't need to have like a specific routine. It doesn't have to be oh, every day I need to put ferts in here. It could be probably once, maybe twice a week. You can go 3 weeks without doing it and everything will be fine, but you will want to squirt a little something in here to make sure everything stays happy for a super long-term longevity type of a look at this thing. Probably shrimp. I think we're going to get some specialty shrimp in here, and I think that would look pretty nice. A little small for fish. This thing is holding only about 2 gallons. So you don't want to go crazy, you don't really want to put anything besides like fry in something like this. Maybe you could do like some rice fish. I don't know, I've never really kept rice fish, but I know people keep them in pretty small volumes of water, so maybe we'll explore that, not sure. Since we got the camera out, let's come over here to the newest tank that we set up and check it out. So all the curi is doing really good. Everybody is happy. We got the Pentaphyta finally starting to turn a little red. So the new growths are looking like they are liking the environment. The CO2 is definitely the one promoting that. And then we have some of the random assortment of like chain swords we put in here. We put some broadleaf and we put some narrow leaf. That's definitely a narrow leaf. You can see that's starting to grow. So we'll see how that does. Again, I put these in the foreground hoping that they wouldn't get super tall. Been a long time since I've had these in a tank, so we might pull those up and move them or just strategically place them in other areas of the tank that aren't so foreground. And then we can replace that with maybe just some hair grass. We'll get there when we get there. The Rotala is already starting to bend over, which I really didn't want it to do, but it's just going to grow and do its thing. The hydro in the back is looking really good. It's perking up, starting to get those more underwater leaves, a little bit narrower. And soon, I'd probably give it another week or two and this stuff will be up at the top. And whatever hydro this is in the middle there with the very pointy leaves is looking like it's doing okay. It's another high-tech plant. Sorry, I can't remember the species name, but it hasn't died yet, so that's where we're at. Give you guys a quick update on the Cory cats. So everybody in here doing good except for this guy. So this might be my first casualty. I'm keeping an eye on him just to make sure, you know, we don't want to leave him in the tank and add to the waste in here. There's already a lot of fish. But I mean, 1 out of 40 so far. It's been about a week. I'd say that's pretty good, especially since we got these brand new. They weren't even really like in the tanks at the fish store. They came straight out of the big bags that they're shipped in. So far, that's pretty good odds. Guy Fieri and his wife, Donna. I don't know if he's married to a Donna in real life, but that was what my significant other decided to name the female fish in here. So guys looking pretty good. Everybody's happy. They got all their tissue cultures out here. They want me to plant them though, so we got to be doing something here soon. This nano tank here, the one with all the chilies in it, I really like how this turned out with the Italian Val in the background. But as you can see, we got this big distraction up here in the front. The pearl weed, which was very minimal when we redid this tank, has taken over. I've already chopped it down a couple times, but it's just really tough to get rid of. It's a little invasive. So I'm thinking we really get in here, pull a lot of stuff out of here, maintain what we already have going on, but then really start to do it up with the hardscape and get a little bit more elaborate. It's also time to do something with the top shelf as well. I'm not sure if we're going to be switching out tanks. I think I want to get out of this little one that Red is in and into something a little bit more sizable. And then I gotta show you the big tank, guys. We have, of course, that newer Java fern in here. Everything's looking really super green, making me really happy. And then you might notice that we have far less of a cyano problem in here. It didn't really do anything other than just put more plants in here. So I don't think that's the sole cause of why we have less cyano, but as you can tell, we're finally getting some good growth out of all of like the chain sorge and the dwarf sage that we put in here. Also put in some more Italian Val in the background, if we can get around these big angelfish. So I think that while it's a subtle change, I think it does help the overall look of the tank. It makes it feel a little bit more natural, especially now that we have more of this foreground plant action going on. It does look a lot better than it did before, in my opinion. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the set it and forget it type of mini pond style tank that you can make into a proper aquarium. This is something that I actually really wanted to do last summer before all the craziness went down. We were gonna do a big tank like this, like custom in the middle of the room. I don't know how many gallons, but it would have been pretty big enough to where we could have kept like rainbow fish in it. Still something that I want to do at some point, just don't know when that's gonna happen. Might need a little bit of a bigger space to do something like that, but this is a fun little setup. I think the Mondo grass, if you can find it, like, get it. It's super awesome, and I think it looks really natural. Again, you don't have to use the bamboo if you don't want to, but we'll see what happens with this tank. Might take it out, might leave it. We'll just see. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you learned something new. If you're new to this whole thing of fish tanks, and if you aren't, then you got some inspiration for maybe something cool to try. So I think that's it, guys. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.